I got married on a first date.
I'm so crazy, I would do it.
He took me to an open mic and did 5 minutes of terrible comedy. This is what it's like dating me. Welcome back to Delve Deck Stories. Today we are reading some wild date night stories. Our first story comes from Chloe, and it's what risk did you take that paid off from our Joy Deck? I got married on a first date.
I'm so crazy, I would do it.
I'm wondering if they knew each other before. That would be a situation that I still don't think I would do it.
Or they were so plastered in some city they're not from, and they're like, yeah, Chapel, boom.
Yeah. I work for a company with international offices and had gone to our London office to manage a new software release. While I was there, I met a bunch of the coworkers from the UK office, and they took me out for a happy hour while I was in town. Among the coworkers, I met Simon, who I thought was cute right away. We chatted at happy hour and really hit it off, but I knew it couldn't go anywhere because I live on the other side of the planet, and he mentioned having a girlfriend anyway.
Oh, I was like, what? Wattpad, wedding bells ringing.
You're like, this is perfect.
And he has a girlfriend?
But I guess if they get married in a different country than the other one's at.
He can have 2 wives.
Well, that is an interesting way
I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying that under that
is
logic.
that legal?
Didn't you say you just did traveling recently? Where was that?
Yeah. Do we need to talk to your wife?
We don't need to look at no. I'm just thinking like maybe that's how you would get away with it.
Can you get married in 2 different countries?
I don't see why not. How would another country know that you were getting married, especially if you're getting married to a citizen from that country?
Wait, stop. You could have so many citizenships. That's hot.
I did notice him listening to a band I like when I was at his desk earlier that day, so we started talking about music and realized we had a lot of the same taste in bands. We ended up talking about music at happy hour and our favorite concerts. We both post about music and concerts on Instagram, so we followed each other. You're like, Over the course of the next few months, we'd occasionally comment on one another's posts or DM about what shows we were going to. But that was about it. Nothing really beyond that. I assumed he was still with his girlfriend. I feel like this is platonic and fine.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just being a judgy. They could just be friends.
For the moment.
Do get married on the first date, and this is going to be a great episode because we have a hopeless romantic and a cynic, and Gabe too.
Gabe's just happy to be here.
Gabe will moderate.
I'm just glad I got the call to come into work today.
We call him every morning and say whether or not we want to see him.
It just depends on how much male experience we've had over the last week. Today I'm rather low, so it's okay.
But then I noticed he posted some pics from going out for New Year's with no girlfriend in sight. So I asked him about his holiday, and he mentioned being single again. After that, our DMs got a little flirtier. Then I found out his favorite band was going to be performing in Las Vegas, which is where I live. I told him I'd scored 2 great tickets and asked him if he wanted to come to the show. He said he'd never been to America and would love an excuse to go.
See, this makes sense. Getting married, Vegas.
That's where you get married on the first date. Also, I will say this is not as bad as marrying some person you've never met on the first date. Like, at least you've been DMing each other.
Yeah, I thought it was like we blindly met.
Yeah. I met Simon at the airport and took him to his hotel to drop off his things. Then we went out to be tourists in the city. The whole day was so much fun. I took him to some of my favorite spots in the city. We talked about music, our failed past relationships, and the dread of approaching 40, still having never met the one. This is how it happens. I know getting married isn't everything, but we both lamented that we thought we'd be married by this age. We even started joking around that we should just marry each other. This is one of those hangs where you're halfway between friends and love interests, but you can tell it's trending towards romance, and it felt really giddy and exciting. The whole time, I kept telling myself not to get excited and that he lives in England, but I was getting progressively more smitten all day. We had so much in common and had all the same ideas about how we wanted to live our lives and what we wanted in a relationship. I was falling so hard and so fast.
Aww.
I mean, you do just want the same future together. I think that's the most important thing in a relationship. If you both like envision your future and it's the same.
Right.
I think the most important thing in a relationship is when you meet each other and your eyes lock and the world stops spinning and you know that you have officially just met the love of your life.
Ooh.
Anyone else?
Yes. I mean, like, you also have to hope that the person on the other end, like, she's having these thoughts and she's like, yeah, we're having a great conversation, but easily get happen on either end. The person's like, this is great. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. The other person's like, this is cool.
No, I think having the same life goals is like a solid reason to marry somebody.
I mean, it's a good kind of like starting block. If
Gabe, tell us about love.
Well, when two people yearn for each other. No.
Yearning. I love yearning. Bring yearning back.
The concert was a lot of fun, and we even started dancing together to all our favorite songs, which also made for a great excuse to start touching each other. Woo! After the concert, we went to a diner, and Simon said, I must admit, this is the best date I've ever been on.
But did he say it with an accent? Like, that's what he's...
Do you want me to do a really bad...
British accent?
I must admit, this is the best date I've ever been on. Yeah.
When you said bad, I thought you were being like humble.
Oh, no, I did. Yeah, I wanted to do a bad one. That wouldn't be my go-to British accent.
Okay.
I said, are we on a date? He said, I thought we were. We both started laughing, and then I said, too bad we live on the opposite side of the planet from one another. We had both done long-distance relationships in the past and felt they were impossible to make work. It was something we talked about earlier in the day. I knew this was going to have to be our first and last date. As if he was reading my mind, he said, what if this doesn't have to be our last date? Is he going to pick up his life?
I'm hoping he picks up the life and he moves to Vegas, or at least they...
I would do the opposite. I would be like, all right, I'm coming to London.
I would love
or
to live in
wherever
London.
the hell
That'd be
he
great.
is.
Yeah, give me an excuse to get the hell out of here.
If they chose Vegas.
That's what I mean. I'm not judging, but I am from Reno, so I can judge.
Yeah. I asked how this was going to work, and he said, what if we did get married? What if we're meant to be together, and this is our chance to make it happen? We've both had so little luck in the love department. Maybe we shouldn't let geography stand in the way.
If he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to, he would.
I was like, are you seriously proposing right now? He said, how about this? We let fate decide. We flip a coin. Heads, we get married. Tails, we just let this trip be fun and nothing more. I sort of liked this idea and told him to go for it. He flipped a coin and it landed on heads.
Spoiler alert, both sides were heads.
Yeah. This is trick coin.
He picked it up in a shop in Vegas.
Stop, no, because if I found out that both sides of the coin were heads, I'd be like, you are so into me.
Like, that was romantic. I'd be like, wow, liar. I was like, so are we doing this? He replied, well, we can't argue with fate. You can.
I love it.
You can if you want to. We paid the bill and found a 24-hour wedding spot because, you know, I live in Las Vegas. The entire time we kept saying, I know this is crazy, but it also feels kind of perfect. While we were waiting for our turn, Simon said, can I tell you a secret? Oh. I thought he was about to. I thought it was okay. If that coin had landed on tails, I would have asked for best 2 out of 3.
Aww. All right.
I laughed because I'd had the same exact thought when he flipped the coin. Just another reason it felt so right. We spent less than 24 hours together in person, and it was like we were reading each other's minds half the time already. This all happened 7 years ago, and Simon and I are still happily married today. Where do you live?
Tell me.
It's also still the most insane thing either of us has ever done. I love that this worked out. I need to know where...
There's a big question that's lingering
I don't know
there.
why this is the most important part of this story to me.
Let's just assume that they moved to London or
Yeah.
England, wherever he lives. I don't know. in there. But let's assume.
And now they both talk like this.
And now they both talk like this.
Now they're both dobby.
Now she really likes beans on potatoes. That's what I know.
Our next story is from Glennis. It's what's your not my proudest moment story from our venting deck. I caused a huge scene when my cheating ex and I ended up at the same restaurant on dates.
Oh, yeah.
Yikesies.
Accidentally?
I know. Somebody is stalking someone.
He put an apple tag in your purse.
I dated this woman, let's call her Meg, for about 3 years. We moved in with each other and I thought she was the one. Then Meg got a new job and started getting distant. She'd stay at work late and always seemed engrossed in her phone when she was at home. I started getting suspicious, checked her phone one night, and confirmed that she was sleeping with one of her coworkers. I confronted her about it and we broke up. I was devastated, and it took me a year to want to try dating again. My friends kept encouraging me to get out there, so when a woman at a bar started flirting with me, they all quickly excused themselves to get more drinks so I could have some space. This woman's name was B, and she was just the kind of forward that I needed. She asked for my number and texted me the next morning asking if I'd like to go on a date.
Nice.
Score.
Yeah. I was so nervous to meet up with B. It had been over a year since I'd done anything romantic or sexual. I felt like I was a confused teenager again. She asked me to go to a sushi restaurant, and when I arrived, she was waiting outside of the restaurant holding flowers.
Aww.
My heart melted and I almost cried. It reminded me of how sweet Meg had been at the beginning of our relationship, but I also knew not everyone was like her, and it felt so nice to have a crush again. The sushi restaurant was really small. One of those places where the tables are almost touching, and it was packed. B told me it was really hard to get a reservation and that she was so happy I'd agreed to come with her. We sat at our table and ordered some drinks. B was gorgeous and hilarious. I was so lost in my conversation with her that I didn't notice the people at the table next to us leave and 2 new people sitting down.
Oh, no.
Then my eyes flickered for a moment away from B's and I saw who was sitting diagonally from me. The woman Meg had cheated on me with. I had to do a double take, but it was absolutely her. I had spent hours scrolling through her social media the past year. I would recognize her face anywhere. My heart started racing and I was praying to all of the gods that the person sitting next to me wasn't who I was terrified it was.
Bring on the drama.
Yeah, I'm like buckling in.
And here we go. The other woman wasn't talking, just looking over her menu. But there was a vibe shift. She knew who I was. There was no doubt about it. And she was hoping her hair would hide her face, but there was no hiding. I decided to do a quick glance to my side, maybe pretending to be stretching my neck or something, and see who she was with. I glanced, and there was Meg.
Oh, yeah, I'm flipping the table and I'm throwing They're still together. That's unacceptable.
Inches away from me. And even worse, she caught me looking. I thought I might puke. Hi, Glennis. She smiled at me. I can't believe that they would sit down. I don't think I would sit down.
No, you know.
But I guess, but it depends on where you were sitting. Like if you walked in and she had the back, then she wouldn't know who she was. But if she was reversed and she was facing when she was coming in.
And then you sit down and,
But would you turn to the ex you cheated on and be like, hi, name? Or I would literally, I'd have to.
I would just get up and leave.
I
If my ex was in a restaurant and we were sat right next to, it'd be one thing if you were like
on a
different table and you're kind of like, okay, hopefully we just don't have to interact. But if you're in one of those places where you're like shoulder to shoulder, no, I don't even care. Like cheating aside, I don't want to be in that situation.
Because also it's like if I'm in a restaurant and it is close, I'm probably never going to see these people again. So like I'm going to have the conversation and be in this moment. But if I've got this other like external thing that has years of trauma or of shit on me, you know, it's like that's gonna ruin my. I'm gonna be,
and it's on a first date. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine you're telling a story to be okay, and Meg fills in, oh, don't forget that little detail.
Yeah, she's lying. That's not how it
She
went.
can hear everything.
Yeah. I barely whispered hi back. Oh my God, do you two know each other? That's so funny. B jumped in. Yeah, we do. It's so crazy seeing you here. Meg continued as if this was just a weird run-in between friends.
She's a sociopath.
As if she hadn't been dating the woman who she cheated on me with while I had cried myself to sleep the past year. I was feeling so many emotions at once. Yeah, I would lose my mind.
Honestly, if I was in the situation and I was the person who was cheated on, I'd be like, oh yeah, she's a cheater.
Yeah, this is the person who violated my trust and crumbled my heart into a fine powder she mixed into her coffee.
How do you guys know each other?
She cheated on me.
Yeah, like I would throw that down, and then of course the other person is like, oh, with who? With this person?
With this one.
It's actually
right
a fun
there.
matchup.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Why are you here? I finally asked. Because we got reservations, she replied, talking to me like I was an idiot who didn't understand how restaurants worked. Why would you sit down? We were here first. You aren't supposed to be here. I started crying. B reached out and grabbed my hand, trying to comfort me. Meg, again, calmly explained that they had reservations and that she asked the servers if they could sit somewhere else, but they couldn't accommodate.
Go somewhere else.
You leave.
So they knew. So then she knew when they came in.
This woman is a psycho.
B continued to rub my hand, and the other woman just kept her head down and stared at the menu. It made me so mad that she wouldn't look me in the eye. I don't know what you would do if you were her, though. I would also. I feel like if I were her, I would be like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I don't want this. I don't want this. Like, this is awkward. This is very uncomfortable. You should have just left, I yelled at Meg. I had to make these reservations months ago. I'm not going to leave just because you happen to be here on a date, she said. I don't care. I don't want you here, I yelled back at her. Glennis, it's been a year. You need to move past this. It's a small city. We are bound to run into each other sometimes.
This is the type of person who probably has not even apologized for quite literally shattering Glennis's trust.
They were never in the wrong. It was Glennis.
Yeah.
Glennis didn't love me right, so I had to cheat on her with my coworker.
Exactly.
Meg was always so calm, it made me feel crazy. All of that trauma from our relationship was bubbling to the surface, and I couldn't contain it any longer. You f***ing cheated on me with this bitch, I screamed at her. Now, I am not one to cause a scene in public. I knew everyone was staring at me. I knew it was a nice restaurant, and I knew I was ruining B's night, but I couldn't help it. I started going off on her, and Meg just took it, sitting there stone-faced and nodding. It made me hate her so much. All the things I never said were flowing out of my mouth.
And it's even worse when they pretend they're taking the high road with
Yeah.
it. Like, you know, they literally couldn't care less what you have to say.
Finally, a manager came over and told me I needed to leave. I was like, yeah, fine, I'll f***ing leave, and stormed out of the restaurant, quickly followed by B. I sat on the curb outside and started bawling my eyes out while she put her arm around me and rubbed my back. Then Meg came out of the restaurant. Can we please talk?
Go!
Have you not done enough?
I was like, B. And then,
Can we please talk about this? She asked. There's nothing to say, Meg.
you made it pretty clear. You just told me to move on and get over it. What is there to talk about?
You cheated.
And you're with the girl you cheated on me with.
Talk about what? I yelled back. Talk about how you cheated on me and broke my heart? F*** you. I don't ever want to see you again. Meg started to say something else, but then B interjected and told her that it would probably be best if she went back inside. Luckily, Meg listened to her. B was incredibly kind and comforted me for the rest of the night. I texted her apologizing in the morning, and she responded that it was okay and she understood, but that was it. There was no second date. And she's like, what?
I mean,
I guess I
understand
guess.
why.
Not that I blame her. I did not make a good impression, and it's still something I cringe about when I look back on it years later. I don't think you should feel bad for reacting negatively, but I also understand B being like, so sorry that this happened to you. I don't know if I see, if I want, I don't know.
It's like the equivalent of like a cashier. Like, oh, and one more thing before you go. And it's like the tip screen. It's like, I'm not doing that.
Our next story is from Liam, and it's, what's the worst date you ever went on from the venting deck? He wanted to show me his knife fight scar from his previous love triangle.
I'm intrigued.
Hot. This story happened when I was a teenager, around 14 to 15 or so. I had been talking talking to a guy I met through a mutual friend for a few days. We hit it off pretty quickly and had been bonding about common interests until he finally asked me out. We met in town after school and went to a popular cafe, where he then refused to order anything because he didn't like the place. He could have just said so before we picked a place. I would have been fine with anything. I just didn't want to stay outside in the middle of the city for the whole date. But, well, there I was with my overpriced drink, feeling very awkward as it now felt like I had dragged him somewhere he didn't want to be. I'm so confused. Your overpriced drink? You're 14 to 15? Is it an overpriced soda?
Yeah.
You got this. Where are you then?
What time period was this in?
I forget that there's other drinks that aren't
Oh,
alcoholic.
there are?
Apparently.
Honestly, I didn't know.
That feeling fleeted quickly, however, because instead of talking about common interests or funny anecdotes like we had before, he spent the rest of the date talking on and off about how his ex was the worst person in the world. Always good.
The call is coming from inside the house.
Now, this in itself is maybe a dating faux pas, but not a qualifier the worst date ever. Everyone has probably run into someone who's kept going on about their ex. Sure. This guy, however, was telling this whole story about how he caught his ex in bed with his best friend, and because he couldn't stand the sight, lunged at them, ending in him getting stabbed with a hunting knife.
Stabbed where? Stabbed where?
Also, hunting
guess
knives I
curious.
feel like are decently big.
And they're serrated.
Yeah.
Ew.
That's
I don't know if I believe he might have passed away from that.
He's a ghost.
To prove this, he offered to show me the huge scar on his back that he was very proud of. I don't know. I feel like his scar was just from like a surgery or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
I got my appendix out.
It's like, honey, you had scoliosis.
I politely refused, not only because we were still in the middle of a crowded cafe, but also because I really did not feel like this was the best first date opener, especially at the age of 14. That's what he's definitely lying.
How? Wait, I'm sorry. Did I miss the beat where they said how old the person they're on a date with is? Like the same age, we'd assume?
If that kid was stabbed with a hunting knife, he did.
They met through a mutual friend, so I'm guessing
Assuming also 14.
they're also
Classmate?
14 or 15.
Yeah, but a classmate, like, I knew some kids in Reno who done some scrappy stuff. But, like,
Yeah.
getting stabbed with a hunting knife.
I don't know. He did, however, show me the knife that he kept and carried around. Why do you have a... Where are we?
He pulled it right out of his back.
Yeah, he
No,
just
that's
came
not a
from this.
knife.
He's got
This
like a
is
knife cover that's just like sewn in with his back, and then he just takes the knife in and out.
Everything about this story is weird, and this kid is
Is this
definitely
a
lying.
dream?
This is a dream.
Yeah.
This guy you're on
I'm
a
like
date
stuck
with
on
is
the
lying.
drinks. I'm stuck on the guy's age. I'm stuck on if he's lying about like
Yeah.
The guy is lying, but he definitely has this knife. He's just like a weird kid. Okay, I guess. This story and his boasting about it went on for a good hour or so. I don't remember much else from the date, only that we never spoke again after. 10 years later, I'm still not sure I believe his story,
we certainly don't.
Yeah.
but it was definitely memorable. At least him carrying the knife around taught me the lesson to never go out with a stranger again without telling my parents or later my friends where I was. I've got 1,000 questions
Mm-hmm.
about
So many.
where you were. I've got lots of questions about
Where were these drinks?
where did you go? I want names. I need timeline. I need to know.
I
like,
need a check-in with the guy that has the scar.
Yeah. Our next story is from Jade. It's what's the wildest plot twist you've ever experienced in real life from the All Swim Ball. One of my worst dates ended up being my biggest ego boost. I frequented this coffee shop in my neighborhood pretty often and had developed a friendship with the cute barista who would always foam my milk. It just sounds sexual when
Oh,
it's
yeah. Oh,
He
yeah.
foams
foam
that
my
milk.
baby. After a few months of casual small talk, he asked me for my number. We're texting a little bit here and there the next day, and he tells me that he's so grateful I chose his coffee shop to go to, and that he's been wanting to talk to me off the clock for a while now.
The way he says, like, I'm so glad you chose my coffee shop. It's like,
Probably just lives close to it.
yeah, like, but also it's like, oh, is there another option that this person had, and or were you watching them before they showed up to
You
the
like
coffee
watch
shop?
them skip
was like,
the
"Come on,
other
come on."
coffee
You're like,
shop.
I put a bunch of subconscious or subliminal messages in so that you would choose
Stop. It's like
mine.
Now You See Me where they make the guy pick the bank vault before
Yeah.
anything. And
Wow, this is
Pick my coffee
diabolical. He asked me out on a date for that Friday night, instructing me to wear clothes you're comfortable sitting in for a while.
okay.
Is that different than the clothes you wear every day?
I figure he just maybe wanted to be extra super specific, maybe.
That's not specific. That's
Yeah.
fucking weird.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's a movie, a theater performance, some sort of cool experience he might have planned. And his brownie points are racking up by the minute. I'm beginning to think it might actually be fate. He wants me to wear comfortable clothes.
He loves me.
You're going to be comfortable when you're in the trunk of this
Big-ass
car.
description.
Exactly.
The date night comes, he picks me up in his car, and we start the drive. He's asking me questions about the playlist, if I like the songs, or if I have anything I want to queue up. I tell him I'm happy listening to his music, and he seems really pleased with that answer. I don't know why I just like hate this man for like I haven't even gotten that much
no,
into
I
it,
hate
and
him
I'm just
too.
like, I don't know, something about the vibes are weird.
Yeah.
I don't like I don't know.
Chose my coffee shop.
Yeah,
and
chose
then my
coffee shop.
playlist.
Don't flatter yourself. It's across the street.
Yeah.
About 30 minutes into the drive and small talk, I ask him where we're going, and we've been driving for a while already, and I'm beginning to get nervous that we're far away from my home. He's taking you on a road trip across the country to his murder location.
Or he's taking you to witness an old cabin in the woods from like the 60s that has all German interior.
Murder location. The journey is all a part of the destination, he says. But I'm not a type B go with the flow girl. Not knowing the date location was anxiety provoking enough. Not to mention that we're driving up a mountain now.
Okay, she didn't
Murder.
She didn't ask nearly enough questions, and then she's like, "I can't just go with the flow."
Yeah.
How did you
no.
get there? You did
Also-
it. You went with the flow.
Like, you don't need to be a go with the flow girl. You can ask for where the hell are you taking me?
Being
That's-
unpolite saves
Yeah, yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
Let's
just-
have the date in the city, in a public place.
Tell
There
me
are
where we're
witnesses.
going.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I can tell my friends.
Mhm.
He drives up to the top of this mountain, parking at a marvelous viewpoint. At this point, we've been in the car for 2 hours now, and I really have to pee.
Are they in the same state?
2
still?
hours? Jesus Christ. You don't just take someone that you barely know somewhere for 2
Are
Our
there
hours.
survival
snacks?
instincts are
Are
very,
there
very
snacks
low.
in the car?
Probably
Because
not.
that's like my most important question now. Because like if I'm gonna be in the car for 2 hours, I need something to
I need a
drink.
comic
What's
something
your
book
to
or
eat.
something.
go-to snack?
Oh, go-to snack would be Chex Mix.
Ooh, hell, Chex Mix is mine or Gardetto's because
Oh.
there's a mix of things
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't get bored.
Exactly.
He tells me how his inspiration has been lacking, and he asked for a sign that he was where he was meant to be. What?
No, that's what somebody who's about to kill you says.
Yeah, this is serial killer
I've been
energy.
having real murder block right now, and I finally found a good one
Yeah.
to murder.
I finally found someone who didn't ask any questions. Apparently, my choosing to listen to the playlist and not add songs was a test I passed. Don't date people who have tests. And then he proceeds to talk for 45 uninterrupted minutes about how we're experiencing something spiritual together by playing the playlist in its entirety for the first time ever together, that we had transcended and been bonded spiritually. He's on mushrooms.
I don't
He's
know.
on.
This
He's
is a
in
mono-
ashwagandha 3
He's
times.
definitely. He sucks.
This is a monologue from a serial killer that's justifying why they're about to sacrifice you to the high moon.
Yeah, because now we've
Upon
Serial
the
completed.
killers don't
mountaintop.
do it for another entity. They do it
You-
because they like it, Gabe.
Definitely
Sorry.
are a part of a human sacrifice, and by listening to the whole playlist, you've completed the
ritual.
The ritual,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Oh, he was an energy vampire.
Yeah. Obviously, this date was a bust. I don't care if I'm rude at this point. I've decided I can never go to his coffee shop stop again. And I make him take me down the mountain to the first bathroom we saw before taking me home. You held your pee for that long, girl?
Also, you
Not
showed him
worth
where
it.
you lived?
She goes, drop me off at this block. He goes, it's not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ghost his messages, and a few months later, I get a package with a USB and a letter sent to my house, which I guess he remembered from when he'd picked me up. He remembered from when he's stalked you. The letter disclosed that I was the only reason he wrote this song. He couldn't have transcended couldn't have transcended past writer's block without the heartbreak I gave him. He wrapped it up with a declaration that he searches for me in his dreams every night
Not just in his dreams.
and that he's forever thankful for me. Move. You are in danger. What? No. This is what, okay. I feel like some people take like there's like this version of spiritual dude or woman that they take it to a level where you're like, you're a fucking creep now.
Yeah.
Like, stop it. You're making everyone uncomfortable.
The more you talk, the weirder I feel.
Yeah.
Stop now.
Just be chill about it. Just, you can be this person, but just be chill. Just stop it. The song actually ended up being really good. Okay. Doubt it.
She's like, damn, those lyrics are pretty deep.
Blowing up in niche communities on TikTok, I experienced a significant ego boost that one date with me could inspire any art at all.
Girl, no.
I was really proud on the bus one day. I heard someone humming it, and I told them that I'd actually inspired the song. You crazy too.
Yeah. I feel like
Never
people
mind.
listening, they're like, oh, that was you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. They looked at me like I was crazy.
Also, how many people go around hearing songs and they go,
That's
"Songs
about me."
They looked at me like I was crazy, but I was borderline kidnapped for that song, so I'll brag about it anytime I want to strangers. Great song. Spiritually a little crazy guy. I guess I'm glad it was a good song, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm wondering what survival instincts this writer does not possess.
I am glad that a nice song was written about you, and I'm also worried.
Godspeed, I guess.
Best of luck to you. Our next story is from Diana, and it's what's the worst date you ever went on from the venting deck. He took me to an open mic and did 5 minutes of terrible comedy. Love it. This is what it's like dating me. I matched with this guy on Hinge who said he was a professional stand-up comedian.
Big air quotes there.
Yeah.
Professional.
I live in New York, so this isn't uncommon. He had some pictures of him holding a microphone, so I assumed he must be telling the truth. Anyone can hold a microphone, but sure.
Just has a spare Shure
He's
microphone
just
and
posing
XLR
in
cable.
his room. We chatted for a bit, and I agreed to meet up with him for dinner and drinks. He told me where to meet him, and when I checked it out online, it looked like a hole-in-the-wall pizza place. I love a good slice of pizza, but I was expecting him to take me somewhere a little nicer for our first date. I didn't want to come off as snobby though, so I didn't say anything and met up with him. We ordered our slices of pizza and beers, and when the total amount came up, he just stood there.
No.
He's a struggling comic.
The cashier repeated the amount and he goes, "So did you want to get this one or should I?"
Wow.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
I would never do that.
I would never
So you gonna
allow
get
that.
this or
Yeah.
I think
that
I-
is so cocky to do on the first date.
Now, I don't mind splitting on the first date or even paying if I'm the one who plans things, but this seemed weird. It wasn't that expensive, so I went ahead and paid for it, but in hindsight, I should have just left then and there. As we ate, he told me all about himself and his friends and where he went to school. He asked me no questions at all. I asked him about stand-up, and he said he was really killing it right now, and something huge was right around the corner, but he apparently couldn't tell me about it because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You said I'm
Also-
writing it.
The idea that he would not ask any questions back, I'd be like, it doesn't take much effort. All you gotta, what about you? Huh? How does
Yeah.
that make you feel? But the fact that he didn't even like reciprocate that in any question, you know, I'd be like, huge red flag.
It's my favorite feature about most men is if ever there's a time where you can just connect to them and hear them out and like let them talk for 10 uninterrupted minutes, you're going to get hit with, I've never met anyone like you before.
We have so much in common.
Look at the way you listen to me.
The energy, the toxic positivity.
Yeah. After we finished our pizza, he told me the place he wanted to get drinks with me was around the corner. I wasn't really feeling it, but I decided to be polite and see the rest of the date through. You don't have to do that. We got to this bar, which was just a weird little room with a stage and a microphone. There was a cooler full of Bud Light being sold for $1. So I suppose if you wanted to call that a bar, you could.
We don't have a liquor license, but we're loaded up with coolies.
He asked if I wanted a beer. I said sure. And then he said, "This one's on me," and winked.
Oh my God. So he has money.
He
has money.
at least $2.
I was going to
But
say
he
at least
can't-
2.
He can't pay for a slice of pizza.
No.
And
Okay,
however
'cause then he
much
couldn't
money,
have gotten
he
the
probably
cool
had to pay
brewskis.
money to do this mic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was
Silly
his
me.
entrance fee came out of his
Yeah.
rent,
Yeah.
so we really had to.
Oh, wow. $1 whole spent on me. What a gentleman. It was becoming apparent that I had been dragged to an open mic and that this guy was not, in fact, a professional comedian. I watched him toss his name into a bucket at the front of the stage. And then he sat next to me and told me he couldn't wait for me to see him do his thing. Again, I should have ran away. Yeah, if you end up at an open mic and you are not one of the comics performing,
Yeah.
don't stay.
Especially at a bucket pull open mic.
Yeah.
Like what's the likelihood that you get on anytime relatively soon to entering?
Yeah, especially in this environment too. It's not a real bar. It's not a
Yeah.
restaurant. It's not something where you're like, well, at least I have food. Like, no.
At least I got a Bud Light.
Yeah, at least I got my $1 Bud Light. The show started and everyone was awful. Some people went on rants about things they should have been telling their therapist. There was a dude who made a "your body, my choice" joke that all the other male comedians laughed at.
Death.
Along with some good old-fashioned racism and anti-Semitism. So you leave when you're in an open mic. It's not...
Yeah.
It's
They were all white dudes too. Like
Of
all
course.
white dude comics.
They're like, my friends tell me I'm funny.
My mom told me I was really good at this, and she actually bought all of my shirts and gave them to my grandma and friends, so I know I'm really good.
When the guy I was with got called up, he squeezed my hand with his damp, sweaty palm
Ew.
and went on stage. I don't like that detail. He starts telling jokes about how crazy his ex-girlfriend is and how she couldn't handle how big his was. None of it was comedy. None of it was comedy. It was just him complimenting his penis. He also had a joke about how he sometimes sucked his poop back up his butt so he could experience what it feels like when he girls in the ass.
Some men should not have rights. Like they.
What?
He admitted that for free. He did
Like-
not get paid for that show.
How did that's not even no, it goes one way, dude. It doesn't go back
no,
in.
it doesn't. He
He's-
sucked it back up.
I don't believe that. Also,
Wow.
as soon as you started saying that, I was like, I thought he was sucking something else following the joke about his, or the reference about his and I was like, oh God.
I was so embarrassed. I was in the same room as this idiot. Yeah, this is what an open mic is like. Don't go. When the whole thing was over, he asked how I liked the show. I don't think it was for me, I answered honestly. Yeah, I guess a lot of girls don't like edgy stuff, he said, which really pissed me off. So I was like, yeah, I guess I just thought you were a professional comedian. That didn't seem like a professional show. He got red and angry and told me that everyone has to do shows like that and that I'd be sorry when he's famous someday. I just started laughing and was like, sure thing. I blocked his number and vowed not to date any self-proclaimed professional comedians without seriously vetting them ever again. Easily the worst date of my life. I'm just going to say, as a comedian, Don't date comedians. Hard pass.
Definitely
Would not
scan
recommend.
the credits. You want
Yeah.
to check out, see where they've been, where they've performed, you
It's not
know.
gonna be fun.
They weren't just the door guy or the bouncer.
Ansley Hutchinson, 5'7".
Our final story is from Erica. It's what's the worst date you ever went on from the venting deck. I tried to ghost a man and got a personal concert instead. Oh boy, I'm thrilled to find out where the hell this went.
He's like, you can't break up with me. I wrote this song. Pulls out acoustic guitar. let me just tune it real quick. Hold on.
Do you have a snark? He goes, do you have a tuner?
I, female 23, had agreed to go on a coffee date with this guy, but panicked on the day of and tried to get out of it by not responding to any of his messages. I didn't confirm we were still meeting when he asked and assumed he'd just get the message. I lay down, end up falling asleep, and wake up to a text message from him sent an hour after our date meeting time saying that he had waited at the cafe for an hour before walking home. I feel like I obviously have to go now, so I tell him, sorry, I fell asleep, and he invites me over to his place.
Again, don't meet men for the first time if it's not in a public space. Are you okay?
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
laughing
I
at
guess you shouldn't ghost somebody right before the date. You gotta just say something. You
Yeah.
gotta say something.
I mean, also, I maybe wait until the next day and be like, oh my God, I pulled an all-nighter at work. Like, we were so busy. Make some stuff up.
Nah, go big. My dad's in the
Wow.
hospital.
Yeah.
I feel
you know?
like you just are like, hey, I am busy.
Yeah.
You just have to like send that before the date.
I love
and,
on-
like you don't have to ghost them. You can just be like, oh my gosh, I'm sick.
Nah, make up a big lie. Make up
like-
a big lie.
I
Oh my
like-
God, I found these peacocks in the cemetery and I had to put them back in the cage.
That's believable.
Yeah.
Take that advice. I show up and we're hanging out in his room. Within the first 5 minutes, he starts to tell me how obsessed he is with horror movies and all the crazy hard drugs he's done, before asking me if I want to hear him play the guitar. Have you had a man play his guitar for you on a date?
Actually, this is something I have luckily avoided.
Oh, wow. I have not.
I think because I'm the singer-songwriter, so a man would probably feel like, why would I even try?
I've definitely had
me play some
men
Dashboard
bust
Confessional.
out just a real Seven Nation Army, you know.
Oh no! I had a man in high school write a rap about me. And hey,
Wow.
Ansley, what it do? I think I want to make you my baby boo. That's all I remember.
So you've had a song written about you.
And a poem.
Oh.
Yeah, just one. I had to think about it for a second.
I have never done that
Done
or
that?
had that happen to
Or
me.
had someone write music about you.
Nope.
It's hard being a muse, but someone has to do it.
Someone has to do it.
Hey,
I'm
that's
dating
the
a
cross you
musician,
bear, and
so-
that is okay with me.
I say yes. Why? Unsure of what else to say since I technically stood him up. All right, I guess that's
Yeah,
fair.
okay.
I guess that's fair. I guess. He turns on the amps to his electric guitar as he plays me an original song. God, it's an
Also,
electric
amps.
guitar? My face must have been stuck in shock and probably horror because he stopped halfway through the song and says, "You look like you're not enjoying this." Oh, he's emotionally intelligent. Oh my God.
He's like, wait, I've seen this face before.
Dear diary, he cares about what I think.
To which I say, no, I'm just surprised. That's what everybody wants to hear. So he finishes a song that I can only describe as Midwest emo. That was all about how much he hated all of his roommates. Oh, so it's Bright Eyes. You went on a date with Bright Eyes. His bedroom door was open the whole time. His roommates were home the whole time. And I'm willing to bet this wasn't the first time they'd heard his song. It sounded well rehearsed, to give him some credit. He's just singing instead of talking to his roommates and being like, hey, could you put the dishes
Yeah.
away? He's like writing music about
I
it.
hate when you don't lock the deadbolt.
After he's done, he sits down and asks me to play the board game Risk with him, a strategic game where you are literally at war with other countries trying to maneuver for territory, and it takes hours to play. I tell him, I'm sorry, I don't have that much time because I have to take my dog out before it gets too late, and that I should probably head out now. He says, well, can I have a kiss for playing you my song? It's good on you for asking. You know, consent is key. And I tell him I don't think it's a good idea. So he sits on the bed and starts complaining about how I'm so beautiful. And I say, I don't know how that has anything to do with it.
This is a new song moment.
Yeah, he's writing a song
He's
right
like,
now.
how can you be so beautiful?
And
But you
let me
won't
kiss
play
ya.
risk with me. I stand up from the bed and he walked me to the door. Glad I didn't get killed. I mean, I guess this is like, yeah, it's good you didn't get killed. You just had to listen to some bad music.
He just hadn't entered that phase where he was confident enough to like physically hold someone.
All things
you know?
considered, this turned out not as bad as it could have.
No.
Yeah.
So that's
No.
nice.
Also, the roommates were home, so they're
Yeah.
witnesses.
Or they're also murderers.
That
you
is
never
true.
know.
Only murderers in this building.
Mm-hmm. That is it for Delve Deck Stories. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, you can like, subscribe, and check out some of our other videos. And if you have a story you would like to share with us, you can go to share.delvedeck.com and we might read it on an episode.
I wonder if Steven gets like annoyed with who we are as people.
We hate ourselves too, Steven.
Hi, Steven!
Mid-credit, post-credit scene.